And here we go. Hey, my name's. Hey,
it's good to see you again.
Good to see you. What's your name again?
What's your?
Hey, my name's Phil the Cruz with Cruising with Phil on location at Maryville Library.
Yes.
And here I got my friend and fellow twice removed fellow Mayor of Canada, Darren Atkinson.
Thank you.
So say hi, Darren Atkinson.
How are you? Everybody out there at Phil's podcast, he's gonna grill me, and we'll see what happens.
I'm not gonna grill you. No.
Go ahead. It's okay. Let's have some fun.
Tell who you are, the people who you are.
My name's Darren Atkinson, and I ran for mayor the last two elections. I was spurred on by the care my father received, which is quite poor, by the LIN, which was a new organization to replace the previous one by the province. They handed it to the city of Toronto. I felt that it failed. My father couldn't be brought to Toronto, even though I had power of attorney. He had a stroke, and before this, I didn't like many things about the city. I'm a free enterprise person. I don't like the word capitalism because, yes, I'm a small business guy, but I work overseas, do different things. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I felt that maybe some free enterprise ideas were necessary in the city, because the city's failing in a lot of ways. Pilot projects I could see right through. I used to have a cab license. There's a myriad of things. So I thought, you know what, in order to get my father's story out and talk about people retiring in place, and I had ideas about that. I also came through the health system. I had stage 4 cancer twice. I had some very informed points of view. So I thought, you know what, instead of just getting angry and talking in a coffee shop, I'll take my yayas out on the election campaign and go after Mayor Tory at the time, who I thought may have started out okay, but simply by the time he was in the last election he won, he was, and also ran someone who was failing, and people felt so comfortable about him. You know, I think maybe because he had a TV show, and maybe he strikes you as middle of the road, but in reality he used to be the head of the Conservative Party. So when you start seeing things like that, and you realize the Premier, currently, PC is asking him if he wants to do certain things with extra powers. You got to understand, and even some of the papers, I find the Toronto Star to be more conservative than it was liberal. It's kind of broken with what I know they have called Atkinson principles, which I kind of find funny. That's my last name, so we're distantly related to the Joseph Atkinson, but I don't think they follow their principles as well as they should. And I think this whole thing was there was some subterfuge there somewhere where he had to resign because of the awful shame of having a relationship.
Hey, is that the real story?
Yeah, I don't think it is a real story for a lot of reasons. Yeah. And it was interesting, the day he walked out of his office, I went down there and I said, hey, sorry about this. I was kind of trying to follow him instead of conversation. Actually, effectively, I just badgered him. But I didn't see any intelligence from the media regarding, particularly the Star. You'd think they'd step up because they had that mystery reporter with this awful information about this horrible thing this man did. I think he's won the election and had to win the election. Probably would have never run because it was, at the point, it was almost hopeless. We're 1.6 billion in debt, and he's a guy that likes to run companies that are running smoothly. He was sitting on the honorary board of directors for $100,000 a year, and he was in that whole kerfuffle about
Ian Rogers.
Yeah, Rogers. When the Blue Jays said, "Hey, we want to get rid of active TO," so everything seems to work for him when he wants it to work, and it's all connected to entities he's a part of, or he knows people who are running them. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I think that the Premier and everybody was in the best interest of the powers that be to have him become mayor, to accept the powers. Then there was another layer of powers given to Ottawa and Toronto that was even greater. And once that was through, you notice the budget comes through, they're 1.6 billion short, he's gone. That's too convenient. For a guy like me, the Toronto Star with this mystery reporter, then when he resigns, all goes quiet.
Who's the mystery reporter anyway?
I have a friend and he lives in Mexico now. His wife knows this person. I'm not privy to use the name. I don't want to get myself in any trouble.
No.
And I will say one thing.
I find it interesting that the mayor never does a conference at 8 o'clock at night, right? Because that happened 8 o'clock at night, right? On a Friday?
Yeah.
8 p.m. You couldn't wait till Saturday or you know what I mean?
I don't know.
Just
and look at the public. They knew in their heart of hearts that he didn't need to resign over that.
Well,
I think he wanted to resign. And then this woman, this mystery woman, the awful affair, if it was so bad, why would Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment give her a job?
Yeah.
That just looks fishy to me.
The city, the bylaws, because she's a subordinate. She did work for him before as a subordinate, so you're not supposed to have an affair, right?
Right, but the thing is,
she was gone by then.
She was gone, but even then, she gets a job inside of the mechanism that he's attached to. Yeah. Come on. And then, even worse, I called the Star out, and this may or may not be a coincidence. I wasn't even on their candidate tracker the second election.
Oh, yeah.
Out of 105 people, I'm the only one that's not on it. And I have the emails to prove it. They're saying, well, we'll get around to it. Oh, sorry about that. And then my name was on there after the last day of the advanced polls.
But you were on there last year, right?
Yeah, but I don't know, because maybe there's 2 Atkinsons. It was interesting.
I remember last year, 2022.
Yeah, I was on it last year.
Name on there,
but how'd they miss me this year?
Yeah.
I can't say.
Well, that's like the whole thing with the election.
If it walks like a duck and it talks like a duck, or there's smoke, there's
We just
fire.
had this by-election for Ward 20 with the whole thing, with the whole suspicions about the fudging votes. Well, last year, 2022, I went on my voting day to go vote for myself, right?
Yeah.
So I went down there. My mom got a card. I got a card for the province, but I voted province registered.
Yep.
I went down to the school where I'm supposed to go. I said, "Sorry, you're not registered, sir." You know, I'm in the friggin' ballot. What are you talking about? I'm right there.
So you weren't. So
I had to register like an application and then put it on the computer or whatever. So now I'm registered.
Can I ask you a question? Was it not the case when we talked that some people, including yourself, had went and polled the people they knew that were going to vote for them, and you got less votes than the people that they said voted for you?
Yeah. What did I get? 69 on the last one.
But you said you talked to more people because you're in touch with your constituency-based friends and followers and backers.
Now 96, now to 105. 105 people I know personally that voted for me, and they looked at the stats like, "What's the 69 stuff?"
Yeah, so I found it interesting. Like Sarah Cleminga had such a great vote count before a number of people, and they all had around the same amount. It's almost as if somebody pulled something out of a hat. Now,
no, she came in 5th last year, right?
Yeah,
twice. She's run twice.
We got a new system too that scans.
Yeah.
All I got to say is that we know what happened with ArriveCan on the federal level. We know what happened with the CERB app.
Yeah.
If someone doesn't think there could be a glitch, whether it's intentional or not, but just look at it mathematically. No, let's look at bear with me, Phil.
Yeah.
Let's look at this mathematically. Someone should take a look at it who's a mathematician and look at the odds of how things turned out versus a number of other factors. There's a way to do this. I mean, ultimately, what's the gaming board? LG. OLG. A mathematician called them out because there's too many people that were extended family members that mathematically won, and it would be infinitely impossible.
And you talk to Chris Guy, his secretary's assistant. She says he called him out about that.
Well, even another thing, you got to ask yourself, Chris Guy. Okay, I don't know the guy, and he's as entitled to his point of view. But it's funny, he's from Vaughan.
Yeah.
And suddenly he's got an address in Toronto.
No, the point is the amount of votes he got from other.
But I'm just saying there's a lot of incongruities.
I said before, the 4 things that threw me off, the 4 names on that list of the 102 candidates was 4 people: Sarah, Brad Bradford, Chloe Brown, and Blake Acton. Look at his results. He came in 3rd last year. Look at his results.
Yeah, you might say that people decided to vote strategically, but
it doesn't make any
the
sense.
percentages might be able to be argued mathematically. Yeah. You and I don't have the resources to do this.
No.
So what happens when you're off the candidate tracker like me? When you get votes and you think more people voted than showed up?
Because you're known, like Sarah's done 3 elections, right? She's done the 3rd election. So last time she came in 5th, she got like
her and I were only a few votes apart.
Yeah, but she got 5,000 last year, right? And this year she got 289? It doesn't make sense.
But what I'm getting at is that the problem is that the nature of this type of situation is that it becomes so complex without the resource, time, and energy to hit the stuff head on. It dissipates any further verification. And the problem is, it's a new system, so you might even think that something might not be right. But
just yesterday's election, Ward 20, the whole.
Yeah.
Did you see the results?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 22% turnout voting.
But then again, there's a number of things to address. So you have incongruities that maybe things that we don't have the time or energy or can't collectively get together to pool our resources to challenge.
Yeah.
2, people get burned out. So part of their way of expressing themselves is not grinding the candidates who are there and phoning the office every day for answers until it moves up the ladder and it's painful. So ultimately, at the end of the day, I was always about going and getting in people's faces, especially the first election, just running into John, Tory, whoever could ask the same questions, especially ones that I knew the answer to. And I'd bring people with me to represent, including some of my Indigenous friends, because there was always this idea that urban Indigenous had been consulted. But from what I could see, I have a friend at Osgood that does helps with sentencing and different people I was in touch with. It didn't seem like that was happening. So, who did you get a hold of? It's always unclear. Yeah. There's not enough time and energy for that. So the public is unhappy. They try to express themselves by not voting. The problem is by not voting, you're not participating, which means the end result in the short long term and maybe long term is you're going to get a worse result than you've already got. What people need to do is engage every last person.
Yeah.
Like if every single person that could vote showed up, and before they showed up, they knew the name of everyone in their riding, and they asked them questions and showed up in person. Hello, I need you. Hello, I need you. Hello, and just
Look at Mayor
So,
Wyderton. How many county debates they have? 6 people kept saying, well, same candidates every year election. What's going on here? There's 102 people. Can't you get at least 13 more, 12 more?
Oh, you know, the guys like
last year,
Gil Penalosa said most people were narcissists and were running for because they, they're just full of themselves. That's easy for him to say. He parachutes in here. He used to run, I think, parks or something in Colombia. But when his brother was mayor, just take a look at the time zone and where you're in, look at the capital, Colombia. I mean, there are two different environments. So to come in here and say, you have something valid to offer that's different might be the case, but to say you know the people and why they're running, to know why they're unhappy because they've been here a long time and they see change, you're the narcissist. Who are you to assume that we don't have the right to vote?
Yeah.
Or sorry, the right to run and other people wouldn't vote for us?
Did you meet him?
I met him a few times. He didn't like me.
No.
I don't think he
You
ignored me.
were at the university, but you were there, right?
Well, the thing is, I called him out because he wanted to buy Toronto Airport. He just says stuff off the cuff.
But,
I'm going to make it a park. Do you know how much money that would cost? There's a court system. It's called the rule of law. Otherwise, people could just take your house. So private property exists for better or worse.
Let's ask question. The airport.
Yeah.
And Turtle Island's over the other side, right?
Yeah, but what's that?
Turtle Island, right?
Yeah.
That's on the other side, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're trying to reserve that and save it, right? Because it's coming for contractor. Yeah.
Well, Turtle Island, okay, that's the garbage pickup, right, on the west side of Toronto.
Yeah.
Well, that guy was, Rob Ford, that some people deem to be a better type of politician than Doug, which arguably he is to some degree, depending on your politics. He was associated with that organization, and if you go up to their decal company, look at who's got their sanitation.
Yeah.
And I mean, I go through garbage, man. I've been going through the Toronto decal company's garbage. I know they got a contract with Tim Hortons. I know a lot of things, but you don't drop bombs unless on people, unless you really want to get into it. I don't want to fight with the Ford Nation. I don't want to fight with the Toronto Star. But if I call someone out, it's because I got a fact, or I might be close to the truth. So as insignificant as I am, I could possibly pose a problem. But so could you, so could Sarah. So the best way to deal with it is to let this low intensity conflict umbrella land on everyone who don't have the resources, and anything that's mathematically arguably something that should be investigated, because you trust people are truthful, you trust the paper tells the stories, you trust the city's doing a job. You have to start with trust, otherwise we don't have any society. But you need to verify. The public's not verifying. That's my phrase, trust and verify. There's no verification. So I ran more like an investigative reporter because I wanted to verify why my father died like an animal and I couldn't bring him to the city. I wanted to verify why seniors can't retire in place. I wanted to verify that if you talk to urban indigenous I want to verify a lot of things. My friend worked for the fire department. I had a friend that ran Parks and Rec. I asked a lot of questions because I had people on the inside.
You want to tell people that story, what happened to your father? Because I know what happened there.
Well, I mean, my father was... He had a stroke, and during COVID, the last lockdown, he was in a small town hospital, and they had no rehab. Without rehab and a stroke, you literally become...
in Toronto?
No, it was in Midland. You become a vegetable, but then they wanted to kick him out of the hospital and address because they had no resources.
Yeah.
So I tried to get him in Simcoe County, I went to Durham, I went to York, I went to Toronto. So finally got him in London. And then first my stepmother was there because she already had a bit of dementia. So she was there. So because he was a crisis patient, they wanted another hospital, and he had spousal reunification, I could push him through the seniority there. And I used to go up there every single day, and if I didn't, they wouldn't have got him out of the bed. He had bed sores that were down to the bone on his heel. And that's even before he got into the place in London. Now, when he got to London, by that time, this has been going on 6 months, I said to them, they said, oh, his left side doesn't work. So I threw this ball and he caught it with his left hand. I'd planned that. Yeah. So the thing is, I said, if he can catch that with his left hand, I've been working with him, and I come up here at night and I stay late because I want to make sure you get him to bed without him getting boisterous, because he was a tough guy in the day. He'd take a swing at you. So, I had to be there. You can see the silver tattoo. So I said, I'd calm him down, but I couldn't be there every day. Yeah. So I wanted to bring him to Toronto, and that was power of attorney. But I can't get into it, but basically they rejected him because he's a crisis case, and it was better for him to stay in London because he was going to die, they felt. Yeah. I thought he could live. Through this process, I've noticed a number of things. That A, if you don't have an advocate, it's going to be a tragic outcome.
Yeah.
More often than not. 2, I noticed things that are wrong in all these homes. They're understaffed and underfunded. So you can make things a crisis by underfunding it. They're already underfunded. They're already not.
What was the place
natural.
in London like? Was it really
Mount Hope.
Was it pretty?
They started out okay, but I mean, it got to the point where I guess they're understaffed, or whatever. He had sugar diabetes. They had checked his blood sugar in 20 days. So when they sent him to the London hospital, they kept sending him. I have to race down there. The last time they said, well, we're going to send him back, but he's gone into what is it? You can't swallow water. Anyway, don't worry about it. We'll move on. I don't want to take up all the time over my dad. But, obviously I'm not happy about it. He's the only immediate relative gone. My mother's gone. I had a stepmother. She got dementia. Brothers and sisters. Most of my other family were older. I was adopted. They're passed. So I did my best. And, I'll give them help credit outside of the hospital in Midland that didn't have him in rehab. They got him up walking.
Oh, good.
Because he would have walked. But you've got to get people to do it.
Yeah.
If you want to get better, I had cancer, stage 4 twice. I had stem cell. If you don't get up and walk, like I couldn't put my arms over my head and play drums. I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
If I didn't make the effort to go through that pain to get it back, tough on me. Because at the end of the day, if you don't want to move your body, it's on you.
Did he pass away during the election?
He passed away during. He did. And I was so mad at the Lynn in Toronto. He could have been at Heritage, one of the city-run places, which is just around the corner from me, and I could have helped him. I could have been there every day. Could have seen his grandchildren. And he got rejected. And I don't want to get into the details why, because I'll be criticizing individuals, but I felt he was too much trouble. They felt he was going to die, and they didn't respect the fact that I was a resident of the city and I was power of attorney, so you're talking to me. So the reason he needs to be here is because I think it's best for his care. But it was more about what our resources are. And the Lynn was brand new, and the city said we had nothing to do with it. It's a city-run place, and they said, well, the city doesn't really administer this. Well, how does the money get to you? So I started to look at how this stuff is done. And people are in partnerships. It's not like it's the province and the city. And I'm already fed up with the city on this stuff, because at the end of my street, there's a Revival, a film studio. But it's supposed to be this multi-use thing that's run by the smart centers. So I went to City Hall about that years ago. And I was fighting that, and it's just, Walmart had all the lawyers there. There's just me, one guy in Carolyn, and a dry cleaner. And they did bait and switch. I kept a picture of all the stuff they said they were going to do, and about a year later they changed it in another meeting. Then they pushed it through at City Hall, and there's video of me, and they said they brought in the town planner, the chief planner, to assure me this, that, and the other thing. And again, I don't want to names, but my counselor in my area, I'm down by Queen and Pape.
Oh, that's come on, you mentioned it.
I don't mention, basically.
Queen and where?
Anyway, I live in Leslieville. So she was on the board of directors for the union, but yet she was pushing for something that was a film studio. It's like a conflict of interest, if you ask me. Yeah. And I never did get answers about parking, and nobody turned out like they should, because they got confused. I thought it was okay because there's bait and switch. I took a picture with my cell phone of every single original offering that was going to be the plan, then it completely changed. So there's a lot of bait and switch, and then the city wanted it to go through, and it went through, and now it's sitting there. There's supposed to be a boutique hotel and a small shopping mall. Now it's just a film studio, and they're waiting, I guess, for the real estate to be worth more, maybe to develop it, because just down the way they're doing the old Lever soap building is being developed. It's a gigantic project right at the foot of the DVP, which is why Tory and co decided to have a compromise for the ramp to the Gardner, which caused total mayhem.
They did a Hollywood tour, remember?
Yeah.
Because of the whole thing there.
Yeah. The whole thing is it's all suspicious stuff.
Yeah.
It's either people aren't these would-be super politicians that really got the answer that people like that they're comfortable about, either aren't capable, or they don't want to go through a procedure, maybe where it's scientifically studied properly, and they have more than one consultation, and they actually are accountable. Even that thing at the automotive building for Ontario Place, I mean, it was kind of over and done. And even when I got up and spoke, I mean, it was interesting because we seen Livia Chow there, and we seen
Josh Matlow,
but they didn't grab the mic. No. They just wanted to observe.
Oswald Malik didn't acknowledge us because I was during the election. Right?
Yeah, well, they wouldn't even let you talk.
No, they wouldn't let you talk.
Well, I did talk.
They really did. I got the video. It's on my thing. They said, "Are you in the election?" Remember they asked you?
Yeah, but what's it have to do? I said I haven't put my name in yet.
But you hadn't registered yet.
Yeah, I hadn't registered yet.
Yeah.
So I wanted to not register to be able to talk in case it was a problem. But why are they even concerned? I pointed out the fact that even from a legal point of view, okay, look, I've done a lot of things. I know a little. it's interesting. Ontario Place are man-made islands. I don't know how they can be. I don't know if anyone's ever thought of this, but why are they included in any concern about Treaty 13?
That's what I mean.
Because if they're new, they're not in Treaty 13.
Yeah.
But if they're still in the area, the jurisdiction of the Mississaugas and the credit, Indigenous, basically, they should have those islands belong to them. So my thing was to create an Indigenous park there, because the idea of a thermos bottle is disgusting.
Okay, just after before the interview, there's no presence of Indigenous people.
Well, I said there should.
Nothing.
Yeah. Well, I have an email on LinkedIn from someone who's a landscape planner who said that Thermos Spa was considering a sweat lodge. So let's see if they do it. So I may take that up. But the problem with me is that I'm free enterprise. So I expended all this energy. I was grieving my father. I was very unhappy. I was all about people retiring in place, and I started to devise some ideas. For example, giving seniors tax breaks equal to the cost of making their house livable so they don't have to leave their house, because this is a problem. Most of the homes get bought and developed and redeveloped.
Give seniors a 20% discount. Pick a day like the shoppers, like small grocery stores.
Yeah.
Most seniors shop between 8 and 12. I said, give a 20% discount for seniors, right? For everything. Yeah. And you get more people shopping using seniors to go shopping, you'll increase your profit.
Well, anything to keep them financially stable.
Yep.
Because the thing is, the cost of living goes up for these people and they're on a fixed income. If they're in their home and they get around and then suddenly they can't, we should help them stay in their home. But that may not be in the best interest of the natural course of free enterprise and real estate. So I'm free enterprise myself, so I can recognize free enterprise is an opportunistic area. The government should let free enterprise do its job, but administer it, not tell it what to do, but put safeguards in place to make sure it does what it's supposed to do and not go too far. But at the same time, government can't replace free enterprise because the incentives that are built on human nature aren't built in necessarily to an authoritarian thing. So whether it's you look at it from a conservative liberal point of view, if you're just telling free enterprise what to do, and you're saying the individual and their property and or their course of action in life has to be controlled by you by a myriad of laws that are increasing all the time, whether they be provincial, municipal, you're authoritarian in a way, whether you like it or not. So, you have to understand, when it's subtle, you call it socialism. When it's subtle, it's not fascism, it's free market. And sometimes that's associated with one party or another, but no political party should direct society completely, particularly where free enterprise and free will are concerned, because we diffuse naturally where we're supposed to. The food truck scandal or failure was the best example. The city thought they could tell you where to have a food truck and what to cook. It failed. Almost all of them failed and went bankrupt.
Let's talk about that.
Because the city just can't do that kind of thing. They have no business being involved in that. Yeah. And all the other people that are out there that may not have licensed, like I remember the old cashew vendors. I love them. That was Toronto. So maybe you needed to make sure things passed cleanliness rules or whatever it is you brought into it, adhere to your new protocols, but you just basically ran them all out of business.
Yep.
And then you said you're going to reinvent the whole business. You know nothing about it. So the city shouldn't be totally in business. It can be a partner to control things for the sake of the public. Yeah. That's where you use your authority, but you don't control everybody and everything, because it doesn't work. Because then one side at one point will be wanting this and you'll favor that side, so they flip-flop a lot. It's the flavor of the day.
Around the world, have you seen different states, food trucks they have there? They have festivals and events going on, in 24 hours.
It's pretty common in the world now.
Yeah.
Look at other jurisdictions. If you go up to Richmond Hill, just get north of the 407, they have food truck get-togethers and stuff like that. But just speaking of food trucks in general, the city of Toronto administers things they have no business being in, but then they're hands-off with other businesses. The interesting thing to me is that big business is hands-off, small business is hands-on. Yeah. Powerful people, privileged, or people in the know go unobserved, shall we say, or hands-off. Small people who are doing anything that falls under a pilot project, if you're a cab driver or building code, they're going to hit you. So it's two sets of rules. But the city actually proclaims they're creating an even playing ground.
No, look at
they're not.
Yesterday's news.
They're creating an underclass.
Case of people. Yesterday, what happened? See?
Yeah.
Another cancellation of this year.
Yeah, but look at the taste of Danforth. Who would want it? They used to come out on the street, and because they put the bike lanes there. So it's not a for or against bike lanes, but they never thought of the idea that if you put bike lanes there in this new form of parking, what will happen to other uses of the right of way, whether it be the sidewalk, bike, or the roadway. Well, how can you have it like it used to be? The public can't walk around all these barriers. They could trip on them in theory. They could. How does a restaurant get out on the sidewalk? And even all those barriers will kettle the public on the sidewalk if they want to get the food. It basically, they should have known, whether you like bikes or not, that putting that in would destroy taste of the Danforth. But they don't think that way. No. They've got a new thing now, it's zero or whatever. I've got too many things in my mind here.
Zero.
But they want every vehicle that gives you a ride.
Zero. Yeah,
whether it be ride sharing, whether it be a cab, Uber, Lyft. They want them all to be electric. But they don't understand the cab industry. So I sat in on the forum because a Tesla driver said, hey, you want to sit on this? I sat in and I almost laughed because there's no one there from the cab industry. So by omission, it's up to you to enforce your rights, even though by omission you're unaware of them. But they said they reached out to the cab industry. I go, how come there's no cab companies here?
They all say that.
But here's the thing, right? Remember, but I said to them, well, at the least, you should be bringing in the people who do wheel-trans, because the cab industry picked up the excess the TTC couldn't handle. So if you want to know how you're going to get somewhere in a wheelchair, a lot of times it's a cab that comes. And the city forced this on, or they pushed the cab industry and reached out to them to do it. Mm-hmm. And now they're burdened by this, and TTC gets out of someone's cost. Cab industry takes it over. They have to, if you've got a lot of cab plates, you got to run some that take a wheelchair. But how come Uber and Lyft don't do that? They're not mandated. So if you're going to be like the city of Toronto, like Mayor Tory, you've got to go down to the police station. You got a car that's half cab, half Uber, or ride share. So if you're going to break down the middle, then whatever amount of TTC wheel-trans licenses you've imposed, or you've petitioned, or whatever you want to call it, you've done with the cab industry, you should go to Lyft and Uber and say, you can't be in the city of Toronto unless you do it. So my thing was to look at the people who are out there and ask them to match what it is they should already be doing, ask them to rise to their social obligation, because there's always a social covenant between a company, a government, two people. You can't treat somebody like an animal. That's an extreme. But at the same time, too, you have an obligation within the confine of your industry and how you define yourself to be at least moral, decent, or serve a purpose with regards to the mandate of that industry. So the cab industry is taking a beating. Well, and all the plates aren't even on the road, and Uber and Lyft are getting off easy.
Yeah,
so
Tory brought Uber in.
Right? Oh yeah, he loves it, right? So but he doesn't think, or there's something wrong. So like I said, I don't want to use too many names or say too many things that are overt, but it's fishy. Something smells not right. And this is not how come, and if you think that Rexdale and Scarborough is underserved with services, how many cabs are going to be out there with electric cars? Because all the pumps are going to be downtown, the charging stations, and where people, they haven't thought of this. Electric cars, the batteries have problems in the cold, they're different. Yeah. So they build their data on other cities that are warm.
Well, look at the transit, the TTC transit. During the freezing temperatures, they're all frozen, right?
Yeah, but have you ever been on Tesla when it's hot?
Yes.
Touch the fingers on the ceiling. You'll burn your fingers. Like there's a lot of unusual things that are yet known. If an electric car burns, we'll have to get these special ways to put it out, because you can't put out that fire.
No.
So it burns like crazy. So the fire, it'll burn right through into the ground. So there's places now where they have to take a car and dunk it in a chemical bath to put out the fire. So you're going to have safety concerns that will eventually show their face. You're going to have problems with the batteries in cold weather. It's not advanced enough. I got friends, the demand's going down. I got a friend, my friend Roger, he works at, they were doing rare elements mining up. They've laid them all off. Yeah. I'd like to use the name of that company too, but I can't. Yeah. I'm connected to a lot of people, man.
I did an interview with a guy named Mateo.
What's that?
I did an interview with one of my guys. Interview with Mateo. He owns a bike company, bike fixing company.
Yeah.
And he's smart. He knows his stuff on bikes, and he's still about the batteries.
Yeah. You
can't just interchange them when one burns out, like one dies. You had to let it cool down first. He was telling me, right? I didn't know that. Yeah, like you said,
even to charge them, there's a certain amount of electricity to warm them up. Yeah. So you're spending energy. So these things, it's not that it won't eventually happen, but it's not there yet. So we're trying to get it there faster than, say, the cab industry. I want to wind this right back.
Would you drive a car to Montreal, an electric car?
Would I drive an electric car there?
Yeah, to Montreal, knowing its limits. It has limits, right?
If I was by myself.
Yeah.
I'm a father, I got 2 kids, I got responsibilities, I usually carry stuff, I'm a drummer, whatever. I couldn't do it.
No.
And the reason is I would go to Montreal, I go to the Montreal Camera Show,
Yeah.
because I belong to the Photographical Historical Society of Canada.
Other
I
than-
wouldn't drive there with all my stuff, because the electric car...
Wait, you want to go to the jazz festival?
No, well, let me finish. Well, I think so many thoughts flying at you. I'll tell you that in a second. The problem is when you load down a car,
Yeah.
there's more. You're gonna burden that battery. You're gonna draw more. So there's a lot of variables I haven't thought of. So one of my arguments.
So with all your stuff, you'll go about half a mile.
Yeah, well, there's 15-minute cities. You know, they say, oh, people should park their cars because just let the trucks deliver. What they don't realize is Amazon uses individuals for deliveries.
Yeah.
Uber Eats,
Yeah.
DoorDash, they use individuals. So when you see a lot of cars on the road, these people are working. Not everyone's on an electric bike. Plus, it's Canada. We have a winter for 6 months. So there's a lot of considerations. We're moving too quick without thinking broader. We're not petitioning people. We're not even forcing. We should really have you license cab plate owners. You're almost obligated to go out of your way to bring them into the discussion because you promised them stuff from years ago. So they have rights. Now, someone goes, well, what's the right of saving, we got to save the earth. Look, I go through industrial garbage. I got a negative carbon footprint like Wall-E, you know the movie? It makes little cubes, these skyscrapers. I built 3 skyscrapers of stuff I've taken out. I'm not lying. I'm going to brag. I'm the elite of garbage picking. So even our recycling system is a joke. We have a lot of single-use plastics, and if you have too many, they get mixed back at cost into garbage because you can't ship out recyclable products that go into landfill. Mm-hmm. And you know what I've determined, okay, let's do the cab thing first. I get all over the place. This is probably why nobody voted for me, because they can't even understand what I'm saying. We'll go back to cabs and this policy of zero,
zero
emissions.
Net zero.
Yeah, because you're never going to reach that. And what you'll have is you're taking industry as a service. When you're in trouble, someone's pregnant, you're sick, you got to go somewhere in a hurry, you call a cab. Whether it be Uber or Lyft. But Uber and Lyft will be suffering the same problem because you're going to take plates off the road, you're going to force potentially them off the road, and because you won't be able to supply the amount of charging stations, and then the demand will be higher. It's going to get out of control. So Rexdale, the peripheral of Toronto will be underserved in my opinion. The core will be served. They'll point to that and say it's good. In the meantime, you've driven other people out of business, had the right to be in business, have been in business for decades. The U license and they bought plates for $100,000. Even worse, you put garages out of business. Now here's the other thing. The cabs will be on the road if they're all electric. You got to think of this if they're not hybrid. How do you get them back on the road if they're fender bender? I drove a cab. Cabs have accidents all the time. They get flat tires. The cabs, there's garages that support the cab industry. They're specific, and they open 24 hours. Electric cars, the only people who have parts are dealerships. They're not open 24 hours. They're not even open on weekends. Yeah. And when you go in, they've got to make an appointment. So through attrition, the cabs will not be on the road. So they will I think they're going to literally take the amount of available rides and ride-sharing vehicles off the road by creating an environment where they can't stay on the road, by bankrupting the garages that don't have the right parts. Look at a garage that's got all kinds of oil filters, all kinds of stuff. What are they going to do with all that inventory? Yeah. Switch over overnight? Go to Canadian Tire, hey, can I trade you all this stuff for gas engines, for electric stuff? Well, we don't even have it. Go to the dealership. You go, some electric cars, it takes almost 3 months to get a quarter panel. You've been a fender bender. These cars won't even be on the road. All that will happen is people will know that the cabs or the Uber or Lyft will be late getting to them. Mm-hmm. And other places like out in Scarborough, Rex will be, and North York, places in the peripheral of Toronto will be underserved in a vast way. And then in the winter it'll be bad because a cab has to hover. You can't turn off your engine completely in the winter. Unless you're going to go in and out of coffee shops, cabs cruise around looking for rides. That's what I did. And you know, that's going to drain your battery. The whole thing is a joke. It's not even thought out properly. And that's just one pilot project. So I want to wrap that up and say, public, what's going to happen to you when you go to get a cab in 2027 and the years post that date? You will not get vehicles to get to you. And if you have an emergency, you're going to be in a world of trouble and you won't even know what to do. So better put someone on your back and start running. And if it's in the winter, it won't matter if you even have, unless you have a 3-wheel bike and you go through a snowstorm, good luck with that. And what if you have kids and a bunch of gear? What if you're a drummer and you got a drum set? What if you're in business? What if you're someone that's delivering? Because people say, why are these cars on the road? Because they're delivering for Amazon. Go after Amazon. A lot of these cars on the road are delivering for Amazon. When I'm out in industrial areas, I can take you to places where people come in and load their stuff up in their cars and vans and go and deliver it. That's how they make their living. But you don't see them because they don't have a name on their car. So you don't see this stuff. You got to be like me in free enterprise. So I'm not here to dump on the system and say we don't need electric cars. We need to we segue into it more gradually and more thoughtfully. You need to reach out to everyone and be a partner with them. Don't tell them what to do like an authority. Because if you're not an authority or you haven't thought it out, what's going to happen when it doesn't work? Where will you be? Well, your job may disappear. You're gone. Just like that. Like Tori, you're gone. What's with the public? They're stuck with the outcome. That ain't right. And every one of these pilot projects cost thousands, tens of thousands of dollars. No more pilot projects. So my thing was, yeah, we need electric cars, but let's work with these people. One of my things was, why don't you work with the system that's already there? When you go to a gas station, there's lots of space for the vacuum, whatever. There's even parking spots. Why don't you actually go to the gas companies and say, can we put pumps on your property to charge cars? They'll go in and buy snacks, and there's more markup in the store with all the little snacks you buy, more profit there than there is on the gas pump, because that's all taxes.
Yeah.
That we don't even get back. So think about it. They should be working with the oil industry saying, you know this is going to happen. Why don't you transition? Or why don't we partner together to make money together? But you have to dislike someone so much. You go, whoa, you're driving a gas car? You are evil. You're the gas company. You're the death of society.
How long does it take to charge a car? Anyways, how long does it take?
Depends on the pump. I mean, depends how much power you want. You can charge up in 10 minutes. The quick charger enough to get somewhere, or you can be on there for hours. It's up to you. But the thing is, what if you had all the electric cars running you wanted, even if everyone replaced all the gas cars, the grid's not even designed to deliver that kind of power to distribute it. It would overload.
The whole year they have they have 4 electric charging stations there.
Yeah.
4.
Yeah.
So if you got.
Well, what if this whole parking lot, this is a mall, right?
Yeah.
There could be out there right now about 500 to 1,000 cars.
Yeah.
Well, if they're all electric, what would you do?
Yeah, you got 4 pumping stations. There you go, right?
You'd have to mandate that if you're going to have a mall or a smart center, if you're going to be a gas station, you would have to partner with these people. I was about partnering. You were about partnering. Other people about partnering. The people that are in the know, I called it camps. Yeah. You had Penalosa, who backed our current mayor, Olivia Chow, and that was one camp. Then you had the usual suspects, John Tory and everybody running for mayor that was a councillor, which they never resigned. So I'll give kudos to Mitzi Hunter. She resigned her position.
Well, she had to, yeah.
She had to.
Yeah.
But as councillors, these people never resigned, and then they ran for mayor.
Yeah.
At the same time, then they just went back to their job. They had nothing to lose. That's to me, that's zero commitment.
But Crawford didn't have to resign.
Who?
Crawford was council. He didn't have to resign to run for MVP. He could have just kept his position.
Well, I'm just talking about councillors.
Yeah, but I'm just
You're already on the city council.
No, I'm just wondering whether,
Well, we all wonder about a lot here. Look at it. Think about it. They want to be transparent. They say they're transparent at City Hall, right? They're awash with 3.5% from transfer taxes in each constituency, which is almost like when things need to be done, you just grease that area and maybe someone will vote for you. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right. You think about it carefully, public. So you get these people that have been in there a long time because they seem to be doing what people want, but yet people, the quality of life in Toronto is not what people expect. Or a lot, I would say the majority are not getting what they expect. So there's a disconnect there. So if all this money is there, and then you vote for someone, but it's still not right, the public has to stand up and go to these people and verify you trust them. So you trust that the current crop of councillors are good people, but you got to verify it. So I think what just happened with Olivia Chow is that you trusted she'd stand up for your city, particularly your rights at Ontario Place. And what was the other guy running for mayor? He had beach rights, Steve.
What's the last
Well, Steve, what's his
name? Steve Mann?
Yeah, Steve Mann, great guy. And they went down for his beach rights. They're kicking him off.
Steve's the best.
Yeah, they're kicking him off the island, but you have 3 feet from where the water laps. I know that from Nottawasaga Bay because people fighting over the waterfront, right? In some cases it's exclusive, but it has to be a specific.
Perry's the best too.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
so the thing is, it's this is like a bait switch on a mass level, moving quickly. The public can't keep up. You got to pay your rent. You can't pay your rent. You're not even making enough. There's firemen. My friend said that young firemen, they're having a hard time living downtown close to the station. It's out of control. So when you got 2 hands in your back pushing, how are you going to verify? They know you can't. There won't be anything anyone can do to get Ontario Place back from Ford, is my prediction. Not a darn thing. So my thing would be, originally to Ford and the PCs, or anyone that might get elected, we should have just created a boundary around Toronto and said, look, I'm not going to work with you. So and then someone goes, well, you can't deny building permits. Well, they can go to the OMB, but it'll be full. Well, then they'll get administrative zoning orders. We'll start writing thousands of those. And we'll deny demolition permits. If you're not going to guarantee housing that you're tearing down is low cost and you're going to give those people back a space, then you don't even get a demolition permit. But that would go against, I guess, their form of free enterprise. Their form of free enterprise leans towards scale, towards large developers building houses. I wanted to give microloans to people to stay in their house, retire in place, make their house fit, give them some tax breaks, keep it stable in communities. The elder statesmen of each community create stability. They're known people. They are the one that hold the information that go back years about what happened in that part of the city. You know, when you displace them, you're also displacing your public intelligence. So that, you know, microloans to help them, microloans for apartments. The City of Toronto is one of the places that has a vast number. People may not realize a lot of single dwelling homes attached, over, I calculated about 1.2 million. Now, so my thing was that don't build houses.
Yeah, just fill them up.
Fill them up, but you know, well, someone goes, but there's people in them.
No,
but,
they're empty. They're all empty.
No, but there's no houses.
Yeah.
There are people in there, but a lot of them are, you know, older. They're kids they're empty nesters, or they could be living alone because their spouse passed on.
But now they've approved like the.
Well, let me finish with this here. So the bottom line is that it'd be better to give someone a micro loan to $20,000 to renovate, to create an apartment. But then you say, well, how come they already done it? Because there's a $50,000 fine if you don't do it correctly. There's lots of people with illegal basement apartments that don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
But why not, instead of scaring people, petition them, canvass them, and help them, and say, hey, we notice you're 82 years old, you're probably nervous about renting to someone you don't know, you've never had a contract. Why don't we supply a boilerplate contract and make it conform to your needs? But you'll have to give a minimum contract of 5 years, and it has to be 30% below market value or 40%. But we'll also provide your consultation, and you can platoon in people in inspection, fire, beef up those departments, right?
Yeah.
And they can go in, and you can hire people there. But remember, I'm saying micro loan. So even though you create more staff in inspection, let me go, I'll show you where I'm going with this. More staff in inspection, because I think the inspection staff are understaffed for a reason. I don't know. Yeah. There's lots of buildings. I know a building in North York, it had an extra floor built on it, and they never even knew that until it was done. You want me to take you to it? That's my thing. I invited the Toronto Star people. Do you want me to take you to these buildings? Do you want me to take you to a police officer that fought that was in shock, that he realized it was corrupt, and to see not a thing you do? Do you want me to take you to Parks and Rec nightmares? I know. Do you want me to take you to firemen who might speak up and tell you need single truck stations, and the response time for the fire department is slow because you haven't calculated vertical response times, and the problems with that because we're building so much vertical. Do you want me to take you? I offer. You know what bothered me? I said, I'll pay your lunch. Come with me, and if I'm wrong, I will quit the election. Nobody ever came with me. Come to Hospital Hall. I'll tell you some of the sentencing. They did a sweat lodge, not a block building, something that represents Indigenous cultures it really is supposed to be. And if that's how you're going to get people to heal when they have, and that's part of sentencing because they've been involved in whatever that's against the law, it's a form of healing. It's a better way to do things. People come from the reserve, come here. Even I came from a small town. You got a justice say something goes wrong. Should your life be in jeopardy? No. Maybe you should heal in the lodge. Well, where is one? There should be one on Toronto Island, West Island, right? Because that would be a good thing. So I want to see if Thermos Spa is going to do it, like it's been suggested they were thinking of doing. Let's see. But the point being is, I said I was at the automotive building, and I said to people, you know, why don't you come with me, facilitators? And the facilitator said the city council has final voting authority. Yeah. That's why the mayor had to acquiesce for them to get through. They couldn't get through. For me, Matt was on one good thing, even though I think he was fair weather. There's 14 feet between Lakeshore and Ontario Place. Yeah. So they want to develop Ontario Place. They already start digging it up and causing barriers because Steve Mann said I couldn't swim around there. And they dug up concrete to make you walk a certain way. So I thought, you know what you should do to them? The city should take that 14 feet and build an 80-foot trench down. Then nobody would have access. So then what are you going to do? But I could just say, well, you just tore up that at the cost of millions of dollars, and you don't know why. I tore this up because I want to actually, I want to make sure that if you're building on Indigenous lands, that there isn't artifacts here from previous settlements. So I'm going to dig an 80-foot trench. I'll make up my own rules. But you won't get at the island because how are you going to get through that 80-foot ditch? I would have done something brash like that. I wouldn't have given building permits, I wouldn't have given demolition permits, and then I would just be for the City of Toronto. If you're in the City of Toronto, up to you. If you're not, if you're from the outside of the City of Toronto, your opinion is secondary. Even if you're premier, your opinion is secondary.
The land is man-made, it's man-made, the question
But the point is that if you don't draw a boundary on the City of Toronto and defend it, then you're not for Toronto. I thought Living Child might be okay, but she's screwed up big time.
But the question is, people ask me this, is Ontario Place is man-made, right?
Yeah.
So it's native land or indigenous land. It's not land, it's an area, right?
Well, the thing is, it's not covered under Treaty 13 because it never existed back when the treaty was written, in theory.
Yeah. So the question is,
there's lots of questions.
The water there, the water is sacred, right?
Well, the waterfront, that area is their territory.
That is.
So the question is, was that included in Treaty 13? So is it exclusionary because we built it?
And we
but if
haven't
it's
got an
on your
answer
land,
yet.
it was
And we
built,
haven't
it's
answered
technically
that
still
yet.
yours,
We
right?
haven't got an answer to that yet.
So no one's answered anything. And you know, the best thing I think is for it to go away. It's too hard for the mayor to deal with. We don't have money. The premier's in trouble, right? And maybe they think by cooperating, they're both in trouble a little bit, right? With the constituencies, the people that put them in power, the constituents. So maybe they thought they could get some traction out of this. If anything, they just made a bad problem worse.
No, they have the proper series of things that happen after. Okay, we have immigration laws. You can't bring foreign plants stuff over, right? Overseas, right?
Oh yeah, but that's a whole other matter. Yeah.
Just a scenario, survey of scenario things that come, like for
but you know, my friend who's Indigenous said, I brought some friends down there and they were consulting Indigenous about Indigenous plant life and aquatic fauna. So it's like, what, you bring Indigenous people to A-OK, your fish, plants,
no, talk about bringing foreign bodies over, like for example, immigration. You can't bring a plant over from.
Oh yeah, but what I'm saying is they were actually saying at Thermos Spa they were going to engage Indigenous opinions over what, the waterfront?
No,
so they can stand around the edge and look up at what you created? Like, that's a joke.
They want to bring
it's a joke.
They want to bring on palm trees. You seen the pictures? Right?
Oh, they're bringing non-Indigenous species.
That's what I mean. That it's an invasive species coming to our side, right? Things dormant for so long.
Well, the one thing, something that's living can have microbes in it and beetles. Look at the problem we already have in the boreal forest and all kinds of other problems.
On microorganisms. It's just sitting dormant for how many years, thousands of years on a tree.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Thermos Spa has a lot of money behind it. Some of the councillors supported it. It's going to be hard to stop it. The mayor would have had to dig in and take a chance. But she's a bit like Tory. Everybody wants to be in the middle sit in the middle. The point is, we've got to get back to basics and clean messes up.
Yeah.
To me, the red bus lanes in Scarborough, why would you have a red bus lane but exclude 3 people in a car, a taxi, or an electric car?
Yeah.
Like, there's no common sense to this
I keep my blow up dummies in my car all the time, that's why.
There you go, yeah.
Which customer?
Well, you know, I used to love when I had the baby seat and I had my kids.
And you featured the car, your featured car.
Yeah.
Want to be what do they call it? Party driver? What's it called?
Oh, designated driver?
No. The party. What do you call it when you're in the car? 3 people in the car. It's called.
We're moving so fast. The HOV line, you ride share.
There'll be a new feature, new car, and you buy a new car. You want to buy right? You want to sit in the designated lane? Just press the button. As the dummy comes up.
Yeah, that'd be alright. Well, you know what I did? I had I had my car seat with my kids. So at the time, my wife was wondering why I wanted to take them to everywhere and whatever, and I'd have run an errand and I'd put them in there. There's 2 of us. So I could use the HOV because I had like a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old. So I used my kids, not that I wouldn't do the errand, but I would plan my plan to go with my kids and, you know, I would do something, but on the way I would get something done because I wanted to use that HOV lane.
I'm starting a new business.
What's that?
I started a new business.
Did you?
Yeah, it's really.
What is it? Oh, it's a joke?
What do you think?
Yeah.
You know, senior parking, right?
Yeah.
It's handicap parking, right?
Yeah.
So when I went with my mom, right, I got a sticker in my car, right? So whenever I go, I go right up to the mom's, right? Hey, mom, this is so cool. The park's so far away. This is great it's good for like dating, going shopping, you know? I can rent out seniors. What do you think? Rent out a senior to use a parking space, park closer, you know? What do you think?
Well, might work.
I pay him some money, give him some Fido or whatever, you know, and then the BLB, you know, like I gotta go to the mall. I gotta you rent out grandma for $2.82. I gotta pick up grandma Stella. Come on, Grandma Stella. What do I gotta do? Just sit in the car. Then just sit. I gotta date.
Run your errands and sit.
Just sit in the car. And I got a headache.
Well, you know, I don't know what kind of business it is. You probably get takers this day and age.
Some cop comes over like, excuse me, man, what are you doing? I'm here. I'm being hired. I'm hired for the day. I'm
a placeholder.
I'm a senior hire. Senior
placeholder.
Senior hire for the day. You know?
Well, that might work because you can put some money in the pocket of people on a fixed income.
No, but you want to make a joke
Yeah.
because I see.
Yeah,
people,
I know, it's pretty crazy.
No, if people use handicap parking.
Yeah.
I see people that are only in handicap and they're sitting because they got the
So-
sticker there. It makes you sick, right?
So listen,
They should be.
I have a half brother and he has a handicap parking sticker. He's proud that he got it. A
Yeah.
lot of them are with people. See, if I had to rat people, I'd have to rat out people I know, family, and whatever. Because the fact is, we're drifting from the rule of law.
No,
And the rule of law isn't about authoritarianism. It's trying to give us an even playing field. So the laws are good, but if they're not administered correctly, if there's two sets of rules, one for the rich and powerful, the connected, the large scale, and one for the small, then what's the point of having a law to begin with?
Shoppers the other day, this over here, this big muscle guy in a van comes out, handicap sticker. I'm ready to wait for my mom because she's handicapped. I go, buddy, you're not handicapped. Yeah, everybody, you're like 3 times the size of me. You're walking like this.
Well, you know, there's a number of things I toyed with you planning on my
he's
platform.
not handicapped, obviously.
Well, I got one for you.
Yeah.
I was saying that basically in some cities they take a picture of you,
Yeah, they should.
you're parked
They should.
illegal, and you get the ticket.
Well, no, they should put a picture of this. Like, my mom should have a picture on her car.
Right, but we should have a complaint system based on pictures.
Yeah.
But they'd rather platoon in the parking authority, and those guys, it's the money collection system, and they're running around getting bigger tickets, $100 tickets.
Yeah.
And this touchy because then you have to judge. If you have to make a personal judgment on someone, it's something they don't want to deal with. If you're not with your car, it's like this victimless, like humanless event that you can put a dollar value to and collect. So it's about tax collection. And that's basically to help fund poor management.
Thanks for reminding me. My mom's in the car at the handicap parking spot.
You're just messing with me. You got me. So
Yeah,
I'm too serious. I'm
just kidding you.
Well, my thing
I want to
is,
go back to what you said about the micro building amount.
microloans.
Yeah. No, the building your little shacks. Back then, a guy built a shack in the backyard for his father, right? Because he
Yes.
lived in London.
Yes.
He wanted to bring closer, so he built it. It's a little shack. It's like
Yeah.
like a little shed you buy.
Yeah.
And he heated it only, and he loved it. It's just he's comfortable. Somebody complained to the city, and he got charged. But now it's approved. They're doing it. You're allowed to do it. But this is like a couple years back. They wouldn't allow it.
Well, if you can build sheds, why not get apartments in the houses themselves for people, the empty nesters?
Because
Because the thing is, if you had microloans, you'd have all the small business, all the little contractors that take care of renovating.
Yep.
People wouldn't be afraid because they'd meet an inspector from the city and fire, and they'd tell you what you need. The services would charge you up to $5,000 to tell you what to do.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
So why not get the city to do it? But here's what I wanted to get at: if you get more inspectors to float this idea, then when they're done approving all these apartments, where the money will come back to you because you're a partner.
Yeah.
And say a 5-year lease is 40% below market value. So part of the rent will come back to the city, so they'll get their money back. And microloans are more often paid back as much or more than any other loan to a small individual or
You
entity.
gotta get on these landlords, these freaking properties.
But here's the best thing: when you're done, you've just beefed up fire inspection, building inspection, so you can unleash 5,000 extra inspectors on all the big boys.
Yeah.
But I believe they've let inspection languish so that through omission, things happen faster than the city can react to. And the city staff knows that, but what are they going to say and do about it? And then that way, the agenda of those that are perennially in office, who've got 3.5% transfer funds, can stay in office, run for office without resigning, then go back to being a councillor. And they can just jockey positions. And I'll just say one thing about the last election. John Tory said, I wouldn't support anyone, I'm not going to meddle. Even the deputy mayor didn't do that. They both come out with Anna Bada's side because they realize now none of them are going to win. So Brad Bradshaw are going to, Anna Bada, they were right. They knew they were going to lose. So then they broke their own word. Yeah. So their word is worth zero. Their commitment is zero. Yeah. And they created a clique, and I don't believe that they created a culture where they're not fully aware of what they're doing and the behavior that they've bought into. They're drinking their own Kool-Aid, as we say in Free Enterprise. Yeah. They're delusionary. But if I talk to a lot of voters, they think that they're doing a great job. As a matter of fact, John Tory could have won the last election easily.
Well, yeah.
But if you're going to delude yourself about who people really are, then the voters will have to bear some burden of this mess we're into. So my big thing to the voter is this: go out, know everybody's name running for office in your area, prepare questions that matter to you, and when you know you're absolutely right, and I mean it because you gathered data, hold yourself accountable, go out and see this person again and again and again. If they don't answer your question, grind them. The only way to make politicians feel uncomfortable is to grind them with questions, because My dad used to hunt with a lot of cops. You know what a lot of criminals don't like? They don't like to get caught. And even worse, a lot of them don't like them if their mother knows.
Yeah.
So listen, everybody wants to be liked, right? Politicians, criminals. I'm not saying politicians are criminals, but they want to be liked. So if you catch them in a lie, overtly, if you can videotape them, it's like called peer pressure.
You mean like Keelburgers?
Well, we're not supposed to use peer pressure on one another and judge one another, but I think politicians are open season. They want to put a feather in their cap and, they're going to save the world. Then let's see. They want to be Superman.
Let me ask you that. What do you think will happen to Bradford? You got dinged by Tory for being not endorsed.
Well,
Brad
Bradford, I think didn't he lean more towards Thermos Spa? I don't like his politics.
No, one of his team was part of Therm. Remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about they said they weren't going to endorse anybody.
Yeah.
Bilo endorsed, McKelvey endorsed Bilo, and then Tory came at the end.
Yeah.
So it's like a big burr, I thought, Because we know this.
They said they would, they lied.
No, but the thing is
as simple as that. It's like they lied. They felt they had to for the good of Toronto.
I'm talking about loyalty. Like, Bradford's he's always been loyal to Tory with any vote. Look
how he votes, yes.
Yeah, but the thing is, to come out and say that.
Look at the warming center stuff. That what a debacle that was.
Yeah.
It should be unanimous to keep warming centers open in a cold country. But because we had a warm period, they thought we won't need them to save money. Let people freeze to death, right? A bunch of animals.
The way they act, is so it reflects on their voters. Like voters saying, "Look, hey, I got a lot of emails. Hey, I thought he's loyal to Brad. I thought Bradford was loyal to Tory."
Yeah, but when you go when you sign up and you're bringing in your family with you.
Yeah.
I could have brought my family.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, if you.
No, but people leverage things.
Yeah.
To feel good, look good. I don't look good. I don't look at me.
No, but I'm saying.
I look at my hair.
In politics.
No, think about this. Look at you, Phil. You and me look like rough and ready guys. We're not making the effort to put on the thin tie. Yeah. I called the English look when I was running an ad company. I got the nice shoes, so I always wear good shoes in Europe. The bottom line is that these guys have it down. They got the money in 3.5% fund if they're a councillor. They've got the connections. Take a look at when people filed their the audit for what they spent during the election. Yeah. Look at the numbered companies. Look where the money's coming from. Where you'll learn the most is look after the election and see what people did. Now, here's something I want to talk about. The last thing, because we've probably been going on long enough, is when I filed the first time, I claimed a lot of my stuff. I made what you call crime towels, and I put them on work clothes. I got almost 5,000. What's that?
You claim those towels?
Well, I claimed them because I've got them on the garbage, and they said, well, you're using it. I said, well, I got it out of the garbage, got it for free. But they said, as value. I used my space as my headquarters, so I used to claim part of the rent. I don't think that should be right. So I could have claimed it. I claimed 14,000. You didn't do 10. I went over.
Yeah.
But you know how much money I would have got back on 14,000? 6,000.
6,000. Right?
But it's not a law of Ontario. It's a bylaw.
Yeah, because you got over.
No, but listen to what I'm saying. It's a bylaw if you go over 10 grand. So the idea is go bigger or go home, because the bigger you are, like Penalosa, Tory, or any of them, Bradshaw, look at how much money they spent. They're going to get money back. And take a look at what they claimed as a value in certain categories. If you use something and it has a value, you have to claim it, but you can get part of that money back. So what's to stop anyone? I'm just saying, take a look at everyone, including myself, yourself, everyone. Anyone who went over 10,000, and look at what the money they got back. You can almost make a year's wages by running and losing with what you repurpose.
What do you mean
So how can that be? No, let's just how can that be right?
Yeah,
but the province, let me finish.
Yeah.
By the province you can put in a paper form, which they don't like. That's why they have a meeting and they kind of condition you to go electronic. Mm-hmm. So the first year I was having problems. They kept rejecting. So I got fined because I was late again. But then I go, they said, well, they can't tell me who to use, but look at some of the bigger constituents. So I went to see Tory, Penalosa, everyone who's their CPA. And then I ended up using William Molson, a very fine gentleman, but he was John Tory CPA. So he took pity on me, and with his skill set, explained to me intelligently and stuck to the basics, and just did his job as CPA. He said, I can file a paper form for you, you can buy. He made it real easy. I thank him to this day for bailing me out so I could run the second time, otherwise I'd be banned. So the thing is, you don't have to do what the city wants you to do, but they want everyone to do it because it provides an avenue for people, and that culture it's kind of a culture that's created an avenue, if you choose to use it, where you can repurpose things, create a value, and get half back. And the public pays for that. So every time there's an election, you're paying more than just the cost of administrating that election.
Yeah, but look at
You're
this.
putting money in. These councillors had a lot. Look at how much they spent. They made money while they're getting paid to be a councillor and never resigned while saying, I want to be mayor. Zero commitment. And the system itself, that's a bylaw in itself, should be overhauled. It's illegal. And the Ford wants to investigate why didn't he really? Everyone will be bedfellows when it's convenient. That's a problem.
Do you think they should resign if they ran for council to be a mayor?
Who?
You think they should have resigned as a council member to run for mayor, like Mitzi Hunter?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't show any commitment.
Yeah.
Some of the people wouldn't have run. Would Brad be down there with his family? He's got bills to pay. If he knew he didn't have a job,
Yeah.
would he run for mayor?
Matt Lowe.
Would he run for mayor?
Who else was there?
Maybe he'd grab the mic a little quicker instead of just saying I'm for things. By the way, Josh, you were at automotive building and I said you wouldn't. That was my faux pas.
I corrected you on that.
Yeah, you corrected me. But the thing is, you didn't go for the mic. You don't address the real problems. You want to make the statement when it's convenient and clean. But when you're at the automotive building, when you could have stood up when at that time when the facilitator was there,
I never saw him. No, I never did see
no,
him.
they didn't say anything, but they were there. So was Olivia Chubb, and they said nothing.
Yeah, I saw her. I talked to her.
Yeah, but they're not doing anything.
No.
So how come not addressing it? Because if you're in the know, share it with the public it was there because they want to know.
Yeah.
My problem is I said too much. I confused people. But I challenged them. But you weren't allowed to talk. Who was with us?
Me, you, Isabella.
Isabella was allowed to talk.
Josh was there.
I mean, what? I think 6 people, 8 people got to talk. Anyway, it's nothing.
Yeah.
You should have multiple meetings.
They diffused the whole situation, right? The whole lectures, like, the whole thing was an hour and a half. Look at the video, right?
They're telling you what they're gonna do. They're not asking you what you're into.
By the way, I've been to the other online ones with
Yeah.
Ontario Place Roll. It's all like you watch it online, like 10,000 questions, and they got half an hour for like 3 questions. Like,
Yeah, I've seen it. It's just you assume your questions get addressed after the fact, but they're not.
No.
I was on one of them watching it.
You
was a
watch it,
joke.
yeah. So you've seen, right?
But the thing is, the main thing is, I was saying is you had to go to your councillor and make sure they would vote no, because then they couldn't go through with it.
Yeah.
But the mayor overrode that with their powers and made the deal.
Yeah.
So those powers were put in place, and Ford, he got what he wanted. Tory was in just long enough, 2 elections back, to not fight the powers, say, I'll use them, and the public trusted him enough, thinking he was more middle of the road, which he wasn't, and his policies were already failing, and they had yet to come to light, and now he's gone. Now watch what he's doing. He's setting himself up, I think, for another level of politics.
Who? Tory?
Sure, he went to the Ukraine, to Kiev, to worry about post-traumatic stress of the women and children and men on the front. I'm sending scopes to the front. Look at my Facebook page. I sent 6,000 scopes that were scratched when Bushnell moved out of the country because our Prime Minister terrorized hunting supply places, so they just left Canada. So they threw out everything, and I had these 5,000 scopes. I sent them over there. And all the jewelers polished them, and they're sniping Russian colonels and generals. So that's getting something done out of the garbage.
Let's talk about Ukraine. Let's see what you.
Ukraine.
Yeah. Okay. I have an opinion. I love
That's
Ukraine.
okay.
I've trained over there. I've trained with guys and girls there all the years. I know the inside politics.
This is pretty loaded.
I know.
Are you sure you want to talk about
I know
Ukraine?
what goes on the inside. People know what goes inside the politics over there with how they treat.
There's lots of corruption in Ukraine too.
There's
corruption everywhere.
My question is, the president. I'm getting a lot of stuff about the president touring around the world, collecting money, we're giving money, right?
Well, he's going to be an opportunist because he needs money.
Yeah.
So here's my first statement.
Wait, hold on. My question is.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Trudeau cut the military budget by $1 billion, right?
Oh yeah.
So the question is, if we're getting cut by $1 billion and they're getting more than us, or they're getting more than us for contributions, homeless this year, poverty going on here, starvation, right?
Okay, we'll just stick with the military.
No, I'm
The
just
amount
saying,
of cutting
the
they
money
did,
going, the money going overseas is not put over here in our own country, right? And people are bitching about that. They're saying,
Well, part of the problem is we can't afford to send it. If this was 50 years ago, we're a different country.
but also people got to realize too, but people don't know this, but they're not going to believe I'm going to say this, but work for Ottawa with the military, I know for a fact that Ottawa has tons of money, and they have different departments with. So when they donate,
We're not that different than the
no,
U.S. We've got
we did donate money
secret
to the, they do
stuff going on.
Yeah. So,
Like you're not attached to America. We pretend nothing's going on here. There's more going on.
Yeah.
HARP exists.
So my question to you
in
is,
some of our property in Canada. All lit industries that used to be made a lot of the guide systems for all the original cruise missiles. Like there's a lot that goes on in Canada, and you can't be attached to America and not be involved with America.
No.
It's wishful thinking. When the mic was off and Obama got caught saying, "Oh, when the election comes, don't worry, the Canadian interests." I know that the Midwest are worried about jobs, but we'll work it out. Everyone's working something out all the time. Like this is a natural human thing. I'm not saying, it's not even the word corruption. To think there isn't wheeling and dealing is to be naive about the human race in general. To try and impose, though, complete fairness on it and then walk away and go, done, is naive as well. What you need to do is trust and verify. So I want to trust the human race. Let's verify people telling the truth. I want to trust City Hall. Let's verify if the money's getting results. Let's trust all levels of government, but let's verify if people are stealing, they should get fired. We have the public's getting frustrated because they don't know what to do. They can't express themselves. They've got no recourse.
They don't know where the money's going, right?
And the only way that people behaved in the past was shame.
Yeah.
You felt, oh, I got caught. I gotta resign as prime minister, cabinet minister, whatever. Now, to get someone to resign, I don't know what it would take. You'd have to
Thanks
literally.
for reminding me, the whole thing of the whole Ford thing. There's three guys?
Yeah.
The whole.
Yeah, but should they be the guys that resign? They just took the hit. Maybe Ford should resign.
This is the old school fall guy routine, right?
Yeah, there's fall guys all over the place.
And then he comes in and says, Ford says, I had no idea this was going into my cabinet. Really?
Well, that's what they gotta say.
Well, of course.
Because
it's
you have to.
blatantly up.
It's called plausible denial.
Yeah, but it's so
you ever been to
blatant.
court over a parking ticket?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
Okay, we're gonna get into real crazy stuff here because
Yeah.
I've been to court a lot, and plausible deniability is a space you want to get to when you're arguing in an adversarial system. So the government and politicians are very well versed at creating plausible deniability. And if you want to be like me, you want to trust them because you have to have civilization. You got to believe in something. Because anarchy for me doesn't work. I don't know, I have anarchist friends, but I can't buy into it. Non-participation, though, will leave you floating in the wind, and that's going to eventually bite you too. But you have to trust somebody at some point. But the problem is we're not verifying. And if we verify something is right, we have to demand action, vote people out. Really, what needs to be done is that everyone needs to vote everybody out who's in office now currently in the city of Toronto and pick someone new. And go out and research them. Each person will have to go out and dedicate 40 hours before the next election, starting now, years in advance, and find out who ran last time.
Do you think someone's going to retire next 2026, next election?
No, a lot of people have slush funds from that transfer tax. They'll make people feel good in their constituencies. They won't be gone.
They want to stay in the senior council.
No, everybody wants to stay in council because they feel good.
Yeah.
And plus, they believe their own thing. They are doing a good job. That's what they believe.
Yeah.
No, they are. Some might be, some might not so much. But no one's really looking at it with hard facts. Are you at a passing grade, as we know in school, is 50%? Well, we're getting to the point where no one fails. That's it. It's a no-fault world. So you can't fail as a politician. You can't even fail in school. There's no such thing as failure. But somehow, when you can't pay the rent, though, there's going to be a failure when you're kicked out.
Yeah.
When you can't get to work and you're fired, there's a failure.
Yeah. And
then you call and it's dead silence. You know how I know this as a musician? We've always dealt with failure. I've did going on 2,000 shows at 3 continents in over 30 years. If you don't get paid in the bar, no, hang on. If you don't get paid in the bar,
tell the people where you can see you on Thursday nights.
But if you don't get paid in the bar, and it's overt fraud, I can kind of exemplify in many different ways. Someone's threatening you because they don't want to pay you less. They put a gun on the table. It's kind of facing your direction. It's out of a holster. It's illegal. You shouldn't have the clip in it. You phone the police, they're not coming. If you're a haircutter and you don't get paid, any other industry, even during COVID, they got money. A musician is always one of the lowest on the totem pole. You're a working homeless person. If you don't go to the bars and have a place to stay, you're in your van, you're always going to be that way.
Yeah.
So this is what I learned. And if you haven't been homeless, went through basic training in the military, had some struggle, you shouldn't be running anything because it's too complex, coming on too hard and too fast. And if you're all about making people feel good, middle of the road policies like John Tory, and you're good with words like pilot project and what we need, a humanitarian pause, call it a ceasefire. Like, quit playing games with words. People need to grill these people. Follow them out of the house, wherever they are. Because they're politicians, they're public figures. You can grill them as much as you want. You should ask questions, you should take them to court, but make sure you've held yourself accountable. But if you've done that, you got the right. Go out and pound every single person over and over again. Look at Ford Fest. I went out there on purpose.
Did you go? Yeah.
Yeah, and I had my signs. So I'm not supposed to advertise I'm running for mayor. But you know why I went? Because Ford tried to put on that he wasn't sponsoring Saunders, who was running for mayor. But because Saunders had a Ford Fest shirt on, he wasn't technically running for mayor. You got all kinds of OPP and city police there are on our dime.
Yeah.
And I remember some police came up to me, and I don't know whether somebody sent them over. We'll just say maybe
Did you video it?
What?
Did you need video? Any videotaping?
Well, I did some videotaping.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you what happened.
Okay.
So I handed out my crying towel, clothing,
Oh, yeah.
So it was funny because people.
We can't talk about what the crying towel is. I have.
Okay, crying towel in the old days, post World War II, was so horrific that people were supposed to be stoic, have reserve, and unless you're really being challenged by society, maybe suck it up. So politicians to me are kind of like they used to make crying towels for hunters. They missed bowling crying towels. Oh, there was glue on the ball. It stuck to my hand. All these stupid things. They're kind of corny. So they hand these things out, to salesmen. My sales weren't good because, I got the husband, not the wife. In the 40s or 50s. But the crying towel would have like 10 excuses on it. And if somebody was in the sales or in the bowling league was always complaining and they always had an excuse why they wouldn't get a strike, you go, there's your crying towel, wipe your tears.
That's what they're saying, the crying.
What? The crying towel is to wipe your tears for your whining.
Yeah.
So my thing with John Tory is I had things that he did. Then the second one was all the counselors, the crying towel.
Is it available to the public to watch?
Well, go on my site.
You see the picture.
DAMayor.ca, DAMAYOR.ca.
Yeah.
You can download an 8x10.
Yeah.
You can buy both of them. So I put them on all this clothing I found in the garbage. And I got work clothing, so that was symbolic. So first class printers in Danforth, great guys. These guys participated in a campaign. They volunteered their services. They put the thing on there for me.
The towel,
so I get free clothing, and then I put the crying towel on it. From the artwork to whatever, I had to claim all that because it was a value, but it was free.
Yeah.
So I could leverage against people where people like yourself, I had a little more leverage than you. So I went to Ford Fest and they handed them out. There's people in coveralls for mechanics and whites for restaurants and machinists, blue smocks. And they had crying towels, but because the Ford Fest are giving away hamburgers, there's people with bags of food, like just buying votes, feel good. Everyone's feeling good, eating and having a nice ice cream. And I was giving out these things, and I forget the name of one of the other guys running for mayor. He was an activist. He was handing them out because people never read what it was on it. They don't read; they just get things for free.
Activist.
So he became like a
Mitchell Zoy?
What?
Mitchell Zoy?
Yeah, mine went. Yeah, he's a young guy
with glasses.
Yeah,
Mitchell Zoy. Yeah.
Mitchell was there and he started laughing. He's going, "Yeah, I like this." So we're handing them out, and people didn't even look what was on them. Meanwhile, I'm criticizing the very event they're going to, and criticizing Ford that he had like a remote control that was a robot. Saunders had a thing on his hand, and a few of the other people running for office had a little thing in their head. Like he's on hanging off CN Tower like King Kong. Because satirical criticism like that is not slander. That's existed.
It's in the paper all the time.
No, but that's existed in England and North America and British common law, and it's in our culture. So you don't see many cartoons in the paper anymore. The funny thing is people got offended by that more. I got more trouble because of me poking fun at them. They couldn't laugh at themselves, because I had no other means to get through. But when you laughed at them, they're upset. What, me? You're laughing at me? The hero of mankind? Oh my goodness. They can't take a joke. How are you going to negotiate with Doug Ford if you can't take a joke? But yet, the ex-chief of police, here's the best thing. He's there, so he's obviously running for election.
Yeah.
A lot of other people. But because I'm overt with my signs, I told the guys, hold the signs up when the TV cameras got Ford on stage so you're going to see my signs. So they came over and told me to get rid of them. There's handlers keep as Ford goes through the crowd, undercover cops and special security. So I get hassled. And I just said, that's the whole point. They go, well, we could arrest you. I go, I want you to. Because I know. But so shouldn't the ex-chief of police know what the law is? That's going to fly, that he's not running for office? So I said, for God's sakes, handcuff me and maybe taser me. Don't put the boost to me, kind of fake a kick like a stunt double, But, I want you to take me down. Because if I'm doing something illegal, how is it the premier in the city of Toronto, during an election, with someone who's running for a mayor, how do they not know the law? But you're here as the police because you know the law. But they didn't arrest me, they just took off.
They took off there?
Yeah, well, they don't want to arrest me because in theory I'm talking in front of, and even Rebel News my behind. They said, get a hold of me. There's some people they'd interviewed that are running for mayor. I got hold of them, we'll get a hold of you. I waited 2 months. Finally, when I'm there, they did interview me. They used a little snippet of me. I muscled my way in. Too many words. I'm louder than the guy with the hat. I guess
only Isabel got an interview by him. Rebel News. That's what all I know. So you're two then?
No, I was included in one of the clips at Ford Fest.
Okay.
Because I muscled my way in there, right? Like you gotta be a dirty shirt to get your way in. Look at this. A guy like me was erased out. I don't even want to listen to me. I got a bad haircut. I'd rather, I said if I had a choice, I might have voted for Sarah yourself. Look, let's be practical about this. They were breaking the law at Ford Fest. So I wanted to go to civil disobedience and break the law. The joke is they were too dumb to know what was on the Tory, my crime tell. So if you look at my YouTube channel, there's people running around with all these things and lined up in smocks. You can see them all dispersed in the crowd. Like these guys think they're geniuses. But what they're really just is doling out the money in the form of free hamburgers, ice cream cones, and hot dogs. What they're doing is feel good with music and PAs.
Did you get some hamburgers? Did you get some food?
I don't want their food. I don't want their blood money in the form of food and ice cream cones. I don't need them. I would go in line and when people would have my smocks on, I'd talk to people and they get mad at me.
Yeah.
And I'd go, well, think about it. I go, it's a form of bribery what we have going on here. It's feel good. But are we getting down to the facts? Are we verifying anything? You don't need to verify anything. Okay, I don't need to verify it. But you're wearing one of my crime tells. Is that you? Yeah, they were giving this out free. That's why he was, who the activist you named, just mentioned? Mitchell. We're throwing them out. People, give me one. I ran out of them. I thought I'd have a hard time giving them. I ran out in like 15 minutes. Because it was a feeding frenzy of free things. Feel good, but feel good that was supposed to be directed at Saunders, who's running for mayor, and that's illegal. So I wanted to be taken down. That would have been my duty. So I probably was, let's face it, I wasn't going to get elected. But I wanted to exemplify things that were overtly wrong, challenge the public to do something better than just look up a few names. It's going to get worse. I'm out there in free enterprise, and I'm going to tell you right now, there's not enough money to go down, it's going to get worse. Interest rates are going to exasperate it. Take a look at my platform hasn't even changed in 2 years and yours. We identified lack of housing, these things. They're not addressing this. I have some things. Go check me out. Check out Phil. Check out other people. Sarah had good ideas.
2026 will be the same platform.
Yeah.
Still a change, right?
Well, they'll still apply.
What do you think with the homeless now? With the new Libya housing?
Well, look, there's been some fires in encampments. 2 of them recently.
Now they're bringing the homeless. Just what's funny, news always centers on the homeless when there's a fire or a tragedy. They never talk about the behind the scenes.
They don't even know how many there are. If you go down Eastern, there's a couple out by the water station.
Yeah,
I'm around at night. Look, I go out at night, right? So when I'm driving around, you get the public disappears and all the cars are off the street and everyone's in the house. You see the tents. The bodies come out. With the Fillmore's, a strip joint. I go up that street and I give out food. There's a company has a food truck company. They throw the food out. And in the winter when it's cold, throw out the truck. And if within 20 minutes, if I'm back down, the due date was that day. So that right now the food trucks is like I'm like a canary in a coal mine. Industry around the GTA is going down because they don't sell their food when they go deliver. The little cardboard boxes in the executive office aren't selling chocolate bars. The pop machines are not selling pop. So they throw out tons and tons of food. Yeah. That's why I'm donating. And to be honest, I was lazy. I took stuff before, but I could have done a better job. When I ran for mayor, I realized to be accountable is serious. To actually give and go out and give takes a lot of time. So I just thought, deal with it head on and directly, like you do, other people. There's some good people that ran for election. That's why Penalosa bothers me. He goes, oh, these people are narcissists running. We each may have had one good idea.
No, before what?
No one's investigating. You just vote for what you know.
When did you sign on?
Keep failing.
When did you sign on 2022? When did you sign on? Last year? Later on or early? I can't remember.
For what, in 2023 or 22?
22, when did you just sign on?
22, I signed on with on the last day.
Okay, so you didn't see whether he signed on. I came in 7th. I signed on back in May. Then Sarah came after me. And then Penalosa came on shortly after. And he went on. I like it. I don't have nothing against the guy. I met him a couple times. Good guy.
I think he thinks he's doing a good job. Well, he promises more than the GDP of Ontario. How the hell are you going to pay for that?
On every media coverage covered him. He went on CP24 and he made the statement like you said. He said they asked him what to think about the other candidates. He says, "Well, I looked at the other candidates. They don't love the city as much as I do. They're not really help the city." I was a little pissed off. I was like, really, buddy?
But that's the thing.
That's the thing.
He can't speak fully to the complete history of the city. I've lived here since 1984.
I've seen the city.
I grew up in a small town. I've been here longer than he has. So it's not that he's new and I'm old because I've lived here this long, but I know a little bit more about how things work. My friend Pete used to work on the rails for the TTC. Yeah. I know this whole thing. My friend, the last company I ran, the person that owns that amp company was refurbing all the hybrid buses.
Yeah.
The TTC can't even afford to do it. Otherwise, the whole hybrid bus fleet would be out. It would be out of war. It's out of warranty now because Daimler's company, Orion, went bankrupt, and he's fulfilling. He's keeping these buses on the road because the TTC can't. They're basically one of the things you got to realize about streetcars. Whether really, I don't want streetcars. You and I probably disagree. Streetcars.
No, they're nice to have around, but you know what?
No, but now the way they've divided up the right of way of the sidewalk and the roadways into everything that it is, it's dysfunctional. Because they don't come in and out like a bus.
The double extension streetcar now, the way they design them,
But you know why they do that.
But they can't turn anywhere.
But you know why they do that. That's TTC staff. What they're really trying to do is cut down their personal obligations to staff members in pensions and benefits. Yeah. So it's partly about the machinery, partly about how to cut labor costs a long time down because those amortize. You know the shelf life of something that's physical, an object, but a person might retire after 40 years. Then you got to keep paying them until they die. So the TTC doesn't want these obligations. They're trying to reduce them because that's why there's only one person in a streetcar that's so big. That's part of the reason they favored these things, not because they're longer for. Well, whether they're useless or not, but you got to think what's the motivation, and how do I know it? Because I know somebody that refurbishes the stuff and is inside of them. I talk to hundreds of bus drivers. So I don't know anything, Penalosa. Right? Yeah. I don't know anything. Look, if I wanted to drop a dime on everything I know, I'd probably have a lot of people with baseball bats waiting out my door.
Back when he came on, he made his design for the university. You saw University Street?
Yeah.
He wanted to make it a park.
Yeah.
So they had this whole thing about moving the road over, one lane, whole park right in front of the hospitals. So I went on and I said, okay, you know more of the city than I do. I don't love my city as much as you do. So I said, okay, I'll take my military stand. So okay. First of all, you gotta get permission from the government to remove all those statues dedicated to the dead, the war, right, and remove all the bodies. So people are like, oh, you're attacking Pinellas. What bodies? What are you talking about? You know what you're talking about, buddy. Anybody knows that's common sense. When you have a statue, there's always a body underneath. Look at the cenotaph, unknown soldier, right? So then must spark. And then you have to think about that, right? So anyways,
he didn't know that when they dedicate this, they put one body there.
I made a video about it. It was nice, but I said,
they do the research. You know.
Nothing personal with Penalosa. That's okay. That's one thing that you didn't take into account. Another thing, that property is owned by the TTC, right? That's all TTC. If you're going to build mounds of dirt over the TTC tracks, right? Another thing I asked is you didn't take into account the emergency exits. So people go, oh, what are you talking about, emergency exits? Well, think about it. If you're going to build subway, you're going to have emergency exits for bomb shelters, not bomb, in case of the bomb or a terrorist attack. There's also emergency exits. They don't talk about it. They are there. I know where they are. Right? So you got to find out where you're going to cover that up.
The problem with Gil is he may have had some good core ideas, but as the election went on, he promised more and more and more without having the facts.
Well, the university thing was a big fiasco, right? I said, all the monuments. I mean, you're going to convince the Canadian government to remove all these plaques dedicated to the war victims, or not with the wars. All the last wars on university, just on the university, that whole area, the moved area. And they're going to say what? Oh, we're going to make a park? No, they're going to say no. First of all, I know they're bad. They're going to say no.
But it's like buying the Toronto airport and making it into a park. Or taking
that was the last thing you wanted, right?
Basically, people were shooting from the hip.
Yeah.
Even Tory at the end of the first line was saying, you think about tolls for the DVP. Isn't it funny how Ford has a DVP now? Tory was a PC leader. He had that idea. Yeah. These discussions go on in back rooms, possibly not. But now that they have it, who knows? Now people are worried about tolls. Well, now that the province has it, if it happens, these people, the last time a toll road was made, it was a PC government. But then again, let's not pick on the PCs, because now let's talk about definition. Doug Ford isn't a PC because he spends... Doug Ford spent more money than any government ever, including any Liberal government in the last... So if you buy a vote, it doesn't matter. If you're buying votes and you don't have facts, and you can't be trusted, you don't really belong to any party. You're just buying your own political survival.
It's not going to be
you're a threat to society.
It's not going to be a physical tool. It's going to be like the ETR, right?
Who knows? I've been in the States. I travel a lot.
Like the 4-7, right?
Yeah, most of them are electronic.
Yeah.
But in the U.S., a lot of them you got to pay to. Who knows what?
When I lived in Halifax in the military, when I was posting. During the wintertime, going down that hill down to the Cape Bridge, putting that freaking quarter in. Like if you miss that quarter, man, you're like stuck in that traffic pile up here. Yeah. Some pictures in Toronto, right? The toll, they still have to.
Well, the big problem with coins now is people are going to say, unlike the U.S., there's still more cash there. We wouldn't have the coins in our pocket.
Yeah.
A lot of our banks have allowed so many transactions under a certain amount. I mean, 25 years ago, you wouldn't buy, a burger at a fast food chain on your credit card or with your debit card for less than the minimum orders. Now anything goes. But the thing is, 25 cents, who has a quarter in their wallet? Look at the parking meters now, same thing, it's all card.
Even payphones, you can't find them around. There are no payphones around, right?
Yeah, there's some. I know where they are.
No, but
but not many.
Over here used to be 15 of them down the corner here. They're all gone. In the malls, every mall had a payphone area, right?
Yeah, and the other phones used to be there is the ones that are dedicated to the cab industry. You pick it up and call and go right to a cab and because you needed to bring your groceries home, your lady with your walker, or old gentleman and crutches, or whatever, you know what I'm saying? People that needed help, right? I'm picking the easiest things for my examples, but we're talking about a lot of stuff here today, you know that, Phil. I don't know if the public will be able to sort this out. It's a heck of a situation.
We never sure talk about the president of the Ukraine going around, traveling around, picking up money and all that stuff. What's your views on that? If you want to talk about it.
Okay, here's the thing. The guy's my cameraman's from the Ukraine.
Okay.
The problem for me is this. You gotta pick sides.
Your camera in here. We're talking about the president.
No, but I'm saying my camera's from Ukraine.
Okay.
And the documentary that got an award that was made in 2014 and at the Academy Awards, he was involved with those producers. He was on a cruise ship. He ended up here. His mother's in Germany, whatever. His sister's in the subways of Kiev trying to do his studies. Her husband's on the front line. So I know a little bit intimately more what's going on. My friend in the fire department, his wife's in the Ukraine.
Okay.
He used to help the children of the Ukraine. I was sending toys. So I know a little bit about what's going on in Ukraine. Let's just look at it plain and simple. Forget about Zelensky, forget about Putin. But just take a look at the regime in Russia, what Ukraine is, and for better or worse. Ukraine is a jurisdiction that has a right to its own destiny. It was attacked in a way that's beyond reason, beyond what even Israel was attacked. In the early stages of that war, more people died daily than the whole thing in Israel. So the Ukraine has a right to defend itself. So here's what you got to remember. If the Ukraine stops fighting, because we don't have real forces there, we're just supplying them, then the Ukraine will cease to exist. Then ask yourself, if Russia stops fighting, the Ukraine will just go back to being Ukraine and there's no problem.
Yes.
So really Russia wants the energy in the eastern part, there's all gas fields and oil, and they want to make sure they don't have a long border against a NATO country. So the problem is we have to support the Ukraine because they kind of defend our point of view, where the individual has rights. Because I just don't buy into the form of would-be directed democracy, communism / socialism, whatever you call Putin's system of government. It's out of control. So I'm calling a shot here. I'm saying I'll side with Ukraine because they by far, even if you think they're corrupt or the president's going around grabbing money when we shouldn't be giving money to Ukraine, fine, don't do that. But as far as where my moral support is with the Ukraine, because I can't morally support Vladimir Putin.
No.
He came up through the KGB. I had uncles in World War II that did things I can't talk about. And if you understand what the KGB are, I played in a Moldovan band called Black Olives.
I met him 3 times.
What's that?
I met him 3 times.
Oh yeah. So the bottom line
I don't
is.
mention it too many times.
Yeah. So the bottom line is that the strange thing is that somehow we delude ourselves that Putin was threatened. We shouldn't have threatened him. No. He attacked the Ukraine. Ukraine gave him all the nuclear weapons back they had, because they were the third biggest holder of nuclear weapons at the end of the Cold War.
Do you want to discuss who's back in Russia or attacking Ukraine, or that's the topic?
I'm going to get right back to it. So basically, Ukraine I side with. So I really don't care if Zelensky's getting money. He's going to do it anyway. Whether we should be giving him money, I don't think we have money to give him. But I'm going to tell you something you probably don't know. Some of the stuff we gave, we don't even have yet. So we send the money to the U.S. because we don't even have what we're giving them, and they ship it.
Yeah.
And that stuff gets there later than my stuff I send into the U.S. that's channeled through people's suitcases. So I got stuff to the front line faster, and I got the photos to prove it.
Yeah, why is that, eh?
Because free enterprise, people take care of problems better on their own.
Right.
You just need to support them. Elderly, a country that has a war going on. People will figure out the way, support them. But to come in and say, no, I'm going to support you, but you got to wear your hat, tilt it to the right, say this is your definitions, be here at this time, cook that food, No, that's not how it works. Whether you're liberal or labor or conservative, if you're that much of an authoritarian, you're going to screw up your society. People will know what to do. So you have to trust people. I trust people. I get by fine. That's how I started a company in England, Fuzzy Purple Platform, with a guy who's an American investor, and we're going to build an amp company. People trust me. I get things done because I trust people. And if it doesn't work and you verify it, then you cut the relationship before it goes too wrong. So you have to be working hard all the time, not taking vacations like these guys that run offices. So I don't know whether free enterprise, can ever integrate well with government.
I was going to ask you. Beginning of our conversation, you mentioned.
I don't care what Zelensky's doing. We shouldn't be giving money.
You mentioned briefly, but you didn't talk about it. Well, I know because we went online, right, during one of the debates, and he told us your story about your cancer, how you survived. So you want to share that with people?
People want to hear that.
No, it's amazing. But you talked about the.
It might be a bit glib because I survived stage 4 cancer twice.
Yeah.
But it's a pretty serious topic, and I got
it's interesting. Very interesting.
maybe lucky.
Yeah.
Maybe I drove myself through it. I really don't know. It was stage 4. I let it go too far. If you feel any sensations, whatever, don't feel that you're hypochondriac. Go and get colon cancer checked regularly. Get checkups. Just don't fool around. I let mine go, and my kids were young then, and it was stage 4.
Yeah.
By the time they did the biopsy, they had to check my bone marrow because that was too far.
So
my spleen and liver were getting bigger.
Yeah,
my stomach was getting squeezed.
We also discussed how you
So
heal.
my bone marrow and my lymph system was Hodgkin's cancer.
Yeah. And how did you heal?
Oh, yes.
That's what.
Well, I know what you're getting at.
Yeah.
I believe, this is my belief system, I believe I had 7 bark, which was a medicine made through some of my Indigenous friends that were very concerned about me, and God bless them. The bottom line is that they made that for me, and I drank that the first time.
Mm.
The first time I was so far gone, when they did the bone marrow test, it lit up like a Christmas tree. It was everywhere, my body. So how I got out of that, but it did come back. There's a little bit left, and we'll get into that one next. But I took medicine both times, and I got medicine again since then, a second time, and then also since then I have a medicine pouch. So the bottom line is that I believe that it had an effect.
What was the time period between all the time you took up?
Well, when I was stage 4, I took the medicine immediately.
Yeah.
And my friend Ernie Jacko, I love you, Ernie. He went and he ended up getting it made for me. They're from Sagaba. It's up near the top of Lake Huron there.
I know the area.
Yeah, and really nice people. So if you want to talk about that, I understand. I will talk about that.
Yeah.
There's more to things. If you want to explore alternative medicine, then you really need to think about. We talk about preserving Indigenous culture. You're not just preserving culture for them. You're preserving, perhaps. I mean, I'm certain you're preserving knowledge and ideas that will benefit us and the human race as a whole. So the wholesale destruction of any culture is horrendous, but also the loss can't even be quantified, because I believe that I was saved by this medicine. My father, I've had, it depends what you're exposed to. I grew up north. Bottom line is that it depends what you want to believe. Doctors would have you say maybe you shouldn't take that with chemo. You're not supposed to eat a grapefruit when you have chemo. It can make you sick. It can really mess you up. And I know that's true. So, but I took my chances, and when I was stage 4, the conventional system was kind of saying it was over. Now, I don't want to poo-poo our system. St. Mike's, the Harold Ballard Clinic, everyone there, shout out to you. You do an amazing job, considering you're so underfunded. St. Mike's is so cramped. If you're in there, you'd know. Donate. St. Mike's is the hospital that really needs the money, and that new wing is just the beginning. Anyway, I'm going to shout out to my Dr. Marina Trinkus. Without her commitment, I would have never made it. So, she was, the second time, she was 9 months pregnant by the time she got me to the stem cell.
Yeah.
She was still working in her office. If you're not going to elect people like that, that's what you're going to need in the next election in the future, because we're going into a tailspin, and it's going to be challenging for any business, human, anyone, big business. Like, my doctor would be a role model. They rejected me for stem cell because the chemo wouldn't work. So I had a tumor now to be shrunk by 50%. Mm. She stayed on and found something extra for me, and she got it just small enough for Dr. Crump over at, shout out to him, over at Princess Margaret, Mount Sinai. I'm getting confused. Anyway, bottom line is Dr. Crump took me for stem cell. He's a great guy. They did their best with me. Stem cells, where they give you high dose chemo after they do some stem cells out of you, which makes you grow and your bones hurt. It's not so pleasant. So then you go and they give you stem cell, but they don't give you these 9.5 million stem cells they get out of you. They leach out of your blood through a filtration system until they've killed all the living cells in your blood. That means your red blood cells, everything. And apparently your bone marrow is dead. Because the only way you get rid of cancer, which is a high growth cell that's mutating, is to kill all cells that are reproducing. So not all cells are reproducing in you at some point, but you can live. So in effect, there's nothing growing or reproducing in me or could reproduce. They were only going to ever start to die. And I suppose if I'd never had my stem cells put in me, even if my immune system didn't catch a cold and kill me, or if my body didn't catch a cold and get killed because my immune system couldn't defend me, ultimately at the end of the day...
I think we're down to 13, 14, 2 hours left. No. Here from 1 o'clock till 3, so I think we're almost done.
We're done?
So, yeah.
Okay, well, anyway, they saved me. And if these people worked overtime to take up for the lack of money and know-how in the system, if you're not going to elect politicians to equal that kind of person, or a fireman that rushes into fire, or a policeman who gives his extra time to go into Kensington Market and work with youth to make sure that they have hope for the future. If you're not going to pick people to sacrifice, you're voting for the wrong person. If you're voting people to tell you what you want to hear, go and meet you on the sidewalk because you have a minor problem, that's nice. What you need are people who are going to rise to the challenge, because you're in a disaster zone right now, financial collapse, is my opinion. And I see it because of what I do, the garbage.
Yeah, so I think we're done.
Anyway, hey, this guy's great. He lets everybody talk.
Yeah.
I didn't let you talk. You would answer the questions.
Good. I like your
Ask me questions.
Do another interview next
I'm
time.
I'm out of control. You know, maybe look at what I've said, but don't vote for me. Vote for me. He'll be running next time. I'll help him.
Thank you so much for coming to my on-location show.
Yeah, well, it was fun seeing you again.
Yeah, good talking to you. Like,
if the people running for office were more down to earth and had more meetings like this on a mass level, they could probably pool their ideas and all these problems would be fixed in no time. But they don't want to do that.
I'll send you a copy of the video.
They're not assured power, are they, if they do that?
No. So thank you, sir.
Power sharing.
Thanks for sharing your story about the cancer. I want you to
share.
Share
the wealth. You're sharing the wealth and sharing the power.
Sharing
Kudos to you.
Sharing our hearts.
Yeah, you're right. And it's good.
So I'll just turn it off for now.
Yeah. Bye.